The morning my parents kicked me out, I almost told them the one secret that would destroy everything they believed about our family. I didn't. Some truths are far more satisfying when people discover them too late. My name is Emma Brooks. I'm 31 years old, and until that morning, I still believed that one day my parents would love me the way they loved my younger brother. I was wrong. It happened over breakfast. My mother slid an empty cardboard box across the kitchen table and looked at me without the slightest trace of warmth. "Pack your things," she said. "Tyler and the kids are moving in this weekend." For a moment, I thought she was joking. "What? You heard me." I looked at my younger brother, waiting for him to say something. Instead, he shrugged. "It's time, Emma." I turned to my father, hoping he'd stop this before it went any further. He folded his newspaper, met my eyes, and said, "This isn't your home anymore." The words hit harder than I expected. "I pay the household bills," I said. "So," my mother replied, "I replaced the furnace. I paid for the roof after the storm." She folded her arms. "None of that changes what you are." My stomach tightened. "What am I?" She didn't hesitate. "A parasite." Tyler sighed and nodded. "Mom's right. My kids need this house more than you do." There it was. The rule our family had always lived by. Tyler needed, Emma sacrificed. I stood without another word. I'd spent years trying to earn love that was always reserved for someone else. I wasn't going to beg for it now. Upstairs, I packed one suitcase with shaking hands. Every shirt reminded me of another sacrifice. Every drawer held another memory of money, time, and dreams I'd quietly poured into this family without expecting anything in return. 20 minutes later, I walked back downstairs. My mother was already holding the front door open. "I hope you understand," she said. "This is what's best for the family." Not one of them thanked me. Not one of them asked me to stay. As I stepped onto the porch, I looked back at the house one last time. Hidden inside was a single legal document. One signature. One forgotten decision. None of them had ever bothered to ask whose name was actually on the deed. And that mistake was about to change all of our lives. By sunrise, my parents knew the house wasn't theirs. At exactly 6:12 the next morning, my phone lit up with Dad's name. He called 3 times before I answered. His breathing was uneven. "Emma, we need to talk." I sat up in the cheap motel bed. "What happened?" There was a long pause. "Your mother found something." I already knew. "The deed?" I asked quietly. His silence answered for him. "She was looking for the insurance papers," he whispered. "The property file was underneath them." In the background, I heard drawers slamming and papers rustling. Then my mother's voice, loud, panicked. "Give me the phone." A second later, she grabbed it. "There has to be some mistake," she said, her voice shaking. "That deed says your name." "No mistake. You changed it somehow." "I didn't. You manipulated your father." I took a slow breath. 3 years ago, the bank was about to foreclose on the house. Dad came to me because no one else could help. Silence. Tyler wouldn't. Another silence. I emptied my savings to save this family. I paid off the debt that was about to take your home. I could hear paper trembling in her hands. Dad signed the house over to me because it was the only way to save it. For the first time in my life, my mother had nothing to say. She ended the call without another word. By lunchtime, 8 relatives had called. Every conversation was exactly the same. "She's your mother. Families forgive. You shouldn't do this." I gave every one of them the same answer. I didn't throw anyone out. They threw me out. And I'm not pretending the house belongs to someone else. That evening, my phone rang again. One name appeared on the screen. Tyler. He'd been silent through all of it. When I answered, the first words out of his mouth made me realize he still believed this story was going to end in his favor. Before I could drive back to the house, Tyler called. His first sentence told me they still believed they could manipulate me. "Emma, let's be reasonable." His voice was calm, too calm, the kind of calm people use when they still think they're going to win. "I am being reasonable," I replied. He sighed. "Mom knows she went too far. She'll apologize." "Will she?" "Eventually. Not she's sorry. Not she regrets it. Just, eventually." Then his real reason surfaced. "My kids need that house." There it was. Not an apology. Not accountability. A request. "No," I said quietly. You need that house. He ignored the correction. Do you really want my kids to remember the aunt who made them homeless? For a moment, the old Emma almost answered. The Emma who always carried everyone else's guilt. Then I remembered something. You're forgetting who saved that house when you couldn't. Silence. You knew Mom and Dad were drowning in debt. You walked away. I had my own problems. And I emptied my savings to keep a roof over all your heads. His voice hardened. 4 walls aren't worth losing your family over. I couldn't help smiling. Funny, you didn't think they were just 4 walls when you wanted them. Neither of us spoke. Finally, he asked, so you're really saying no? I'm saying I'm done sacrificing my life for people who only remember. I'm family when they need something. He hung up without another word. The next morning, I drove back to the house. 3 cars were already parked outside. None of them belonged to me. My aunt's SUV, my uncle's truck, Tyler's sedan. I hadn't told anyone I was coming. As I stepped onto the porch, the front door opened. Every member of my family was waiting inside. The property deed lay unfolded on the kitchen table. They thought they were about to convince me. They had no idea they were about to lose everything. The room fell silent as I walked inside. My aunt sat at the table. My uncle stood by the window. Tyler leaned against the counter with his arms crossed. My parents stood behind the property deed lying in the middle of the table. My mother spoke first. Emma, there's been a misunderstanding. I looked at the deed. No, I said calmly. There hasn't. You know I didn't mean what I said. You called me a parasite. She looked away. I was angry. No, I replied. You were honest. Before she could answer, Tyler stepped forward. Can we stop talking about this? My kids need a place to live. There it is, I said. Another request. Still no apology. He frowned. You're really choosing a house over your family? I shook my head. No, you're asking me to leave my own home so you can have it. Silence filled the room. I picked up the deed. 3 years ago, this house was weeks away from foreclosure. Dad came to me because no one else could help. I looked at Tyler. You didn't. I emptied my savings and saved this house. Then I held up the deed. When everything was finished, my name was the only one on it. My father lowered his head. I should have told the truth years ago, he said quietly. Instead, I let you carry the blame. I'm sorry, Emma. His voice broke. For the first time, I believed him. My mother stared at the deed, her eyes filling with tears. I only wanted to help Tyler. And every time you chose him, I said softly, you taught me I mattered less. She covered her face and cried. There was nothing left to defend. I closed the folder. I could ask all of you to leave today. No one spoke. But I won't. I didn't save this house to become the kind of person who would throw family away. I looked at my parents. You can stay here. Then I turned to Tyler. But you won't be moving in. For the first time in his life, he heard the word no. A week later, Tyler rented an apartment. My parents stayed, but things were different. Respect was no longer expected, it had to be earned. Every morning, I drank my coffee in that same kitchen. The house never changed owners that day. Only the balance of power did.